Folks, pack your bags. We're going to take you on a morbid flight out of Orlando. And this time we pray that TSA inspects the bags. John is going to quiz me on the different names for this pumpkin season that we're in. And I'm going to discuss how clickbait on YouTube will help you lose weight fast and stop you from aging altogether. All this and what it means for your weekend tonight on the Comm Center.
City council members have announced their plan to disband the Minneapolis Police Department.
We're calling for defunding the police.
Shootings in New York City have more than doubled this year.
Folks, this is Failure to Stop. This is the #1 podcast and platform where we entertain and inform first responders. Tonight, it's the Comm Center with veteran detective Drew Breezy. He's got 29 years on the case. He's going to break down a case for us tonight. We're going to cover a bunch of news. But first, I wanted to talk to Drew and see, Drew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, John. I've been working on a project lately, so I'm a little sore because I don't move much anymore.
Is the project Crippling Depression? Because I am also working on that project.
Yes. I call my project Getting Out of Bed. No, I'm putting up permanent lights on the outside of my residence. So permanent, holiday lights. Like, so the theory is they're Govey lights. Josh and I are big fans of shiny, lighty things, and the theory is you only have to put these things up once, and they stay up year round. And when the 4th of July runs around, you can on the app click the 4th of July mode, or I've got 3 different Halloween modes on there, and it's just fun. It's fun for the kids. It
takes the pain out of being festive. Gotcha.
Yeah, most definitely. And I am I don't know that I can raise my arms above where they are right now. So if I look like I'm slouching, it's just because I'm in traction, basically.
Well, and you said earlier that Duval County is the biggest land mass on Earth. If you look right over here, I've got the second 2 biggest land masses ready to help you out anytime, Drew.
Thank you for not coming to Florida, because we have way too many gun shows here already.
That's true. Right now it's cold and windy outside. Are you a big autumn person? I mean, did you get into Halloween? Are you looking forward to it this year?
It's the most wonderful time of the year. There's no doubt about that. And I like to be spooked. I like to be scared a little bit, but not a lot.
I'll make plans with friends just to experience the dread of having those pending plans, approaching. And then, eventually, of course, I cancel them. But that, and just like, looking at the Dallas Cowboys schedule and things like that, like these are the only things I really have to like fill me with dread this season. What do you do to increase the spookiness of your season? Yeah,
recently it's scary enough. I've been frequently checking my IRA account balance, so that's scary. And that's enough to scare a grown man like me. But
go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go.
Last question: apple cider donuts or apple fritters? Where do you stand?
Do you think? Look, this is actually hard. I'm going to have to go with apple fritters. I mean, apple fritters are available year round.
Yeah.
And I still stand on the side of apple fritters. I love apple cider donuts. I love apple cider, although it does mean things to me. But I do love apple cider.
What the hell does it mean?
Country. Huh?
I have to ask what it means.
What do you mean?
Well, you said it means something to you. You grew up in apple cider country in Western New York. Is that what you mean?
No, I said it does mean things to me. My body.
Mean things. Oh, because you're probably not drinking like the little kid version of apple cider.
That was a long time ago, John.
Don't forget. That was the biggest thing of horseshit that I hated from kindergarten, was when they talked about Johnny Appleseed going around planting apples so everyone could enjoy apples. He did it so everyone could get smashed on hard cider. But Mrs. Buckwalter did not tell me that. Okay. And God rest her soul, but I am still mad at her about that.
Yeah, fuck her. And then
Hey,
later on in
hey.
life, you be later on in life, you in the prison system understood what buck actually is, right?
I understood a lot about what juice could do to people in
Yeah,
prison.
that's what I mean. So buck, for those who, John's going to do an episode on buck. And I don't know if that's what they call it there, but that's what they call it here. But essentially, you gather inmates gather all of their fruit juices and pool them into one area, one garbage bag essentially, and then they put things to ferment them, and they hide them in the ceiling.
The
And
yeast,
then
actually, we had a special yeast procedure in the prison because the last riot that we had was them all getting drunk. So like we had like these 2 checklists, and 2 officers had to turn keys at the same time just to get yeast every day, just to like make the bread that they had every
the
day. So
rolls.
we had serious yeast control in the prison, which sounds like a weird conversation. I'm not sure why we're on this right now.
Oh
Where
yeah,
is this
no,
podcast going?
yeast in the prison is a great conversation, and yeah, I mean, who's going to make the hot cross buns, on Sunday? So
I don't know. One of my favorite stories at prison, and this will appeal to you because you're a cop. And I remember one time I was on my beat, which was like the hallway, and this guy comes out of the kitchen, and I can tell he's carrying. So I'm pull him over, do my own little traffic enforcement, do my own little interdiction, and I pulled him over because I could tell from the way he was walking that he's carrying. And I took over a pound of oatmeal off of that guy, smuggled it out of the kitchen. So
that's traffic.
That was the biggest bust I ever had. I put it on the table, took pictures of it, took a picture of me next to the oatmeal. It was a big deal.
Did you wear one of those Quaker Oats hats?
A tri-corner hat is what it's called. And yes,
Thank
I wear
you.
one of those. I wear it all the time. Do you mind if I just go ahead and transition smoothly into the news, since I'm not?
Oh, I would hope you would.
I'm not. So last week on the show, we talked about Seattle and how Seattle's changing. They're adding a 3rd public safety department called the Care Division, which just seems like something out of RoboCop to me, that they're going to call it the Care Division. And it's because it's government. They're not going to ultimately care about people. We had a whole podcast about this last week with Abby Ellsworth, and we were talking about some of the difficulties or problems or just circumspection about creating a new division of government to handle things. Well, right before the show, at the most convenient time possible, a police officer from Durham reached out to me, and he had some thoughts on this. I invited him on the show. He declined because I guess he's policing it up. So I respect that. Like, I'm busy right now too. So I get, like right now, if you wanted me to go do a ride along with him, I would also be busy. But I asked him about it. I asked him about what it's like there, where they're doing this a new system in Durham. So I didn't get a lot of time to prepare on this, but I wanted to just share his remarks, and he'll remain anonymous. So I'll call him Matthew. If I have to call him anything at all, I probably don't. All right. He says, I'm an officer with the Durham Police Department. He's not in communications, but they have certain calls that are classified that the HEART team responds to. So there in Durham, they're called the HEART team, which there again, for some reason, we just have to have this wonderful, like, touchy-feely, it totally appeases, the bleeding heart liberals who want to change policing as we know it, as we so often hear them say. HEART is what they call the civilian responders in Durham. In all honesty, they do not help out with call volume very much. There's a co-response unit where a social worker rides with an officer in the same car, and that seems to work much better. They say a lot of people in this department listen to the podcast, and so that's why he doesn't want to come on here and talk about this openly, mostly because this plan is being pushed by an aggressive city council onto the command staff. I guess the city council is very liberal, and the command staff has no choice but to kind of go along with this. Otherwise, any of their other ideas are basically going to be funded out from under them. So the unit that is just civilian responders ends up calling an officer over 50% of the time. So they send out these civilians, and sure enough, just like you might guess, the civilian units get there and they have to escalate it to a law enforcement response. So much for them handling call volume. They're more just buffering it until a police officer can get there anyway. Said it's a liberal city council pushing it and making command fall in line. The co-response unit actually works well. They just don't have enough officers to fill the unit because they are so short. Now, police officers, you're talking about a police department that's short officers. Well, that's amazing. So I asked him, like, do you just have problems getting officers to go to this unit, or is it just because you're overall short? He says, we have a few officers that come from a mental health background that enjoy it, and they have a passion for it. Most of the street cops that deal with violent criminals would not choose to go to that unit. Officer-wise, they're short about 160 out of 500 person department. So that's like what, 25%, Drew?
Yeah.
I mean, you're good at numbers. So Durham Police Department's down 25% of officers. So they want to change policing as we know it, but we can't even cover like basic police response to all the things that we all agree that police should be doing, because you're down like 25%. So why are they down now? He says, we're incredibly underpaid for our area. We start at around 10 grand less than surrounding agencies, so they cannot recruit. The city council is very liberal and fully fell into the defunding police thing, which I would call a scam. The command staff and the people that work for the department are good, but the chiefs can't get anything done without the city council shooting everything down.
I would think so.
So I'll wrap this up here. I just want to do justice to the fact that you reached out to me. Thank you, Matthew, by the way. So they're supposedly doing a pay study in a few months. I don't think that would change anything. And if they don't change anything, 150 plus are going to quit, and they effectively won't have a police department in an extremely violent city. So Durham is a bit under the gun, if you don't pardon the pun. If they don't get their shit figured out in terms of paying their officers, they're going to be in a bad situation. He said they're doing a pay study. I just mentioned to him that pay studies happen to be very expensive. Drew, maybe you know that being an admin. They'll come in and do a pay study. They'll pay millions and millions of dollars to this fucking pay study. And it's just like, well, you could have spent that money on police officers. Actually, I have a lot of material here tonight. I'm super prepared for the show. And at one point, I think I'll pull this up, but I was reading about the Orange City, California Fire Authority. And I wanted, but double check this before I put something on them. But at one point they say they couldn't hire anyone, but they bought 2 helicopters. So they don't have enough money to give anyone a raise, but they were able to buy 2 helicopters since 2020. I'll find that. I highlighted that, so we'll be able to talk about that later if we have time.
All right,
so I just wanted to follow up on the care unit and the heart unit and the hug unit, probably in some other city.
A couple of observations of what you just said. I agree with you. Like, so if this thing is not a smashing success, don't you think it opens the door for them to say, well, we didn't have the personnel to do it, so obviously that's the reason it failed. But so
they'll just say like it's communism. It's just never been properly implemented.
Yeah.
Until you have the people and see it fail, they're always going to be able to kick it around as an idea. So I would prefer that they have the people that they need to do it,
right?
Then to have it go out there and have it either work or not work, Drew. Which whatever. I know that I think you're a community policing guy. It's hard to remember kind of where you stand on that, but either way, whether it's good or bad or big government or just a joke, I'd rather see it actually tried.
No, I what I am is a thinker. I'm a problem solver. I'm not a Band-Aid guy. Don't ask me for a Band-Aid. Like
you're a surgeon. You're a surgeon.
Thank you. I mean, like, let's fix the problem. Let's not fix the symptom of the problem. So here's the other thing. Now, I hear this argument all the time, and this is me from the administrator background. Like, I hung around a sheriff for a little bit. I had the privilege of protecting one during an RNC, and I got insight of what it's like, and plus that's what my degree is in. I have a master's in criminal justice administration, and I've been through some executive leadership schools and blah blah blah. When people say things like, oh my God, you turned $6 million back into the county. You could have just paid us, you could have just given us all a raise. It's a very short-sighted thought that $6 million is going to cover a raise for any.
No, you're right. I mean, that money doesn't really go around that far, but I mean,
okay,
you can also just look at the starting pay of your surrounding agencies.
No. And that's what a pay study does, though.
So a guy sits down and uses Google.
No, there's way more to it, because you've got to talk about tenure, and you've got to talk about classifications, and you've got to talk about, what's this communication supervisor here? What are their duties and their functions versus what they're being paid to do? Pay studies are very intensive, but they often come out in favor of the employee, and the consultant knows that. And the agency knows that going in. They just need some ammunition or some fodder to bring to whatever governing body, like a city council or a county commission, to show them, like, we're underpaying our people. How do you expect me to recruit or retain anybody if we're $10,000 under, under all these other things? So
True. I have read your manifesto, though. I know that you could sit down and look at those numbers, pay yourself your regular salary as the head of your communications department, and make that case yourself. You could probably use Excel and Word to make a bar graph and spreadsheet and show these people, like, oh, we're not being paid as much as.
Yeah, and get a guy like you. I would have a guy like you, and I'd be like, John, here's another 100. Throw it on the fire.
I would go up there with my bindle on a stick. Is it my family's so hungry?
Please, sir, I want some more.
I answer the 911. I go home to burned out shell of car.
Would you offer me your jewelry to do so? So I would like. Okay, so there's that. And as far as like purchasing a helicopter versus hiring people, I don't know. I don't know
Two
exactly
helicopters. It's two.
Okay, I don't know how it is in Orange City, but I'm willing to wager that didn't come out of county funds. I'll bet you that's
federal
government
grants
grants
or what?
Yeah, that's probably a federal grant, and you're not going to be able to use that money to.
All right, let's look, because I laid the accusation, and now you're putting my feet to the fire.
No, I'm not putting your feet to the fire, and you might be 100% correct. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to expand the listener. That a lot of times, people are like, "Oh, Jesus, they bought 7 boats and they bought 2 helicopters and they couldn't hire 6 people." Well, first of all, hiring's a lot more expensive than you think. 1 and 2.
I know, but so is training, and when you have people wash out and you have to replace them.
I agree. So you should, even as in the 911 industry, something I recognize is you should be dumping all of your money in bettering the training program, in making sure that they understand what a mentor relationship is, and understanding how to develop them as leaders, because they can't go anywhere but in the communication center. So, you know what I mean? So if you just get to that middle management or that budding future manager, frontline, first line manager, and start, dumping all of your resources and training into them to make them have the new employees better, they'll be better. Both will be engaged in the process, and you'll retain both sets of people instead of just creating this backstab environment that we have. So that's Comm Center specific. But when it comes to I don't know where we're at. I mean, when it comes to retention in law enforcement, I've always pushed for a mentor program. I got left. I proposed one, and the command staff loved it, except for one person, and she wanted to use what her buddy had, somewhat cut and pasted out of mine, and it was her own spin on it, and it failed miserably. And when I tried to give input, it was, oh yeah, well, you just want to take it over, and it's the same song with that same administrator. I mean, she's a horrible person. But I'm flapjacking for you on your behalf. But
you're flapjacking. All right, so I apologize. I do have I've got tons of articles here because this original podcast was going to be very article heavy. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and just read this to you because it's the same line of thought. I lost where the helicopter's at, so I'll read this to you, and just know that someone out there bought some helicopters. But I'm going to read to you about Orange County's 911 dispatchers. It says this is from the voice of OC, which may or may not be related to the Fox drama. It says, Orange County's 911 dispatchers are chronically overworked. Can they handle the next disaster? Orange County's biggest emergency dispatch center is struggling to staff its own self, raising questions over whether there are enough 911 dispatchers. Call center operations are ringing alarm bells, saying they're already brutally overworked. They also warned that the impacts of such worst overtime are triggering troubling questions about their own ability to handle the next big emergency. Last year, Orange County Fire Authority dispatchers are working more forced overtime than they have in nearly a decade while fielding 911 calls from nearly 2 million county residents they serve, answering over 400 calls every day. At the end of last month, 30% of the department's just dispatcher jobs were vacant. So that's the vacancy rate is 30%. The dispatchers are claiming the situation is grim, staying long hours, and it has negatively impacted their personal and professional performance. Quote, if a massive fire were to break out, we could not sustain operations, said one dispatcher who asked to be kept anonymous for fear of reprisal. We just wouldn't have enough dispatchers to perform our duties. A former dispatcher said the dispatch center isn't ready for a major disaster, and it's only a matter of time until somebody dies. And the dispatch world, sending someone to a wrong address is like a cardinal sin. If you send fire engines to the wrong address and you don't find out until they make it there, the delay is 6 or 7 minutes at best. That delay could kill somebody. So in a statement to the Voice of OC, the fire authority denied any concerns about staffing the center, but they said, recognize that extra hours have been hard to their employees. They say, this is the admin side of it, the agency recognizes the impact of forced staffing on its dispatchers and their families. Our dispatchers are a resilient group of professionals and the unsung heroes of the high level of service we provide. They did not respond to a request on whether or not dispatchers have sent anyone to the wrong address. I don't think that really matters at all. Voice of OC reviews dispatchers' reported hours, and they said that the average dispatcher has worked a 54-hour week this year just to keep it going. 7 dispatchers worked a 60-hour week. One dispatcher has consistently logged a 75-hour work week this entire year. 75. Yeah. He's almost that's 2 employees right there.
Yeah.
A second dispatcher who also asked not to be identified. So the situation took a toll on everybody's health and relationships. They said they are absolutely not ready for a major disaster. It had a pretty significant impact. We can barely sustain what we're doing right now, and that's just answering 911 calls and handling day-to-day structure fires. They just brought in 13 dispatchers out of the academy. It's the largest class ever. But here's the part. Here's the part that really bugs me, and I know that I'm really monopolizing the show here. But I really, since you're admin, I kind of want to drive this home because the article is about to shift between the dispatcher's point of view and the admin point of view in a serious wager that I wanted to bring to you. And you're just, frankly, you're the expert on it, and I have to consult you on it because, like, someday you'll be dead, and I will have wished that I could have asked this question. All right. So, bearing all that in mind, the command staff says, well, we are ready to handle emergencies. Basically, if something happens, we'll call in off-duty dispatchers to work and we'll stop people from leaving. During major wildfires, we had to do that. We had aggressively exercised all of these mechanisms. Isn't that the problem, though, that they're already keeping people late? They're saying that we can respond to things by keeping people late and calling them an off-duty. But that's how you get to a 74-hour work week to begin with, is by you're not letting them go home and you're calling them in when they're off duty.
I think that the traveling dispatching teams come in handy in those situations. Like when there's a hurricane, there'll be a pack of dispatchers, like the call will go out statewide. I think there might even be a formed team of dispatchers that deploy.
And yeah.
So in a wildfire situation, I'm not questioning what that dispatcher is saying, that they're not going to be able to handle a large scale emergency or an active shooter or something like that. I'm not questioning that. Long term, though, there are remedies for that, which is what the administrator's saying. Just as important, I think, is what that Carbine / NENA. NENA is the National Emergency Number Association. It's a governing, or it's not necessarily a governing body. It's like it's a loosely governing body, I guess. You don't have to follow NENA standards, but they set the standards for 911. They did this survey. Carbine is a private industry. And it says that recently they just published this survey. Staffing issues continue to pose the most significant challenge to emergency call centers. Look at the numbers. So 88% of respondents struggle with staffing shortages, which increases with the size of the center to 93% of large centers. So 9.3 out of 10 large centers in the United States are understaffed, first of all. Second of all, does your center struggle to hire new employees? 80% responded yes, 20% no. Okay, so only 20%, and remember, 20% of those, some of them are smaller agencies. This is my point. This is why I've been trying to shout from the mountaintops about um, what's going on in a communication center and how important it is to have a leader in the know up there, whether it's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter, but somebody who's got their finger on the pulse, not somebody who's going to be bullied by command staff who's like, yeah, well, you're a cop, so just do what cops do. Don't worry about what those dispatchers do. You heard what John just said. And there's a guy or a girl somewhere, a woman somewhere pulling 75 hours a week or whatever it is, how long do you think that's going to last? How long do you think, and then again, there's nothing but, or not nothing, but I think support may be getting better. I don't know for sure, but also like you hear things like, yeah, we, they're turning in workers' comp ish, like they're just a liability anyway because they call in sick all the time. And yeah, no shit. I mean, this is exactly why. And how does an entire industry get to be 93% understaffed in major cities? It doesn't come from, it definitely doesn't come from a command staff supporting you. Like 93% of the large agencies don't have command staffs that are so supportive that you're driving people off. This is my point. Like it takes a special person to be able to speak both languages. And I'm not saying it's me. It could be anybody, although I think I would do really well at it because I was doing really well at it. But the same person who didn't want anything to do with my ego, my mentor program 4 or 5 years prior is the same one that got rid of me from the comm center because she didn't think that I was needed up there. And she runs by ego. She runs everything by ego. She's
wrong.
I was a threat because I was smart. I was creative. I had their ear. I was getting stuff done and I understood what I was doing. And I pushed back when it was time to push back because they don't know what it's like. They have no idea. They've never experienced it. They have no clue what's going on up in that communication center. And then when somebody stands in their way and says, ho, you can't make them do that. You've already pushed them too far. We're stretched too thin. They look at you and say, make it happen, Lieutenant. You're a cop. Make it happen. Don't be stupid. You're one of us. Go make them do it. And when you don't, they fire you. That's what happens. That's what happened where I worked.
I'm glad to finally hear kind of more about that. One of the supervisors in this study that I just mentioned, where they had people report, one of the supervisors had worked 27 hours straight. So she worked over a day. Our policy at my agency is you don't work over 12 hours. Why? You could make mistakes, but not only that, but like suppose what happens when you do make a mistake? A defense attorney finds out that you're 27 hours on the job. Your agency now has liability because they kept you that long.
They do, but they have plausible deniability because they're gonna hang their hat on being understaffed.
I know.
And then they're gonna say, yeah, well, guess what? 93% of the industry is understaffed. So there's always a way around it.
Well, a way out of responsibility.
It's not the humane thing to do, John, but there is a way around it, is what I'm saying.
No. So anyway, so these dispatchers who left, a former dispatcher said that she was getting forced into 16-hour shifts, working 6 days a week, and the current managers of the dispatch center were running it into the ground. And that's the reason why she left. You can hear OCFA and you think that it's the golden ship. It's the golden sinking ship. Their standard is to, they've removed an interview from the process. It used to be a 2-step interview. Now it's 1 interview because they say it's no longer industry standard to have 2. There's a new streamlined interview process that's more efficient, which maybe, but I also just think like you're lowering your own standards to get people in the chairs, which is not necessarily. Right. And then to their credit, they hired 38 dispatchers, which is above their cap of 32, which is a good idea because they're accounting for attrition. But
we
nearby,
had a problem with that too, by the way.
You had a problem with that? You didn't like it?
We had a big problem with that. What we were trying to do was keep a pool of you can't. It's very difficult to and I'll give it to the administrator because she took a chance on it, and it really was working out for us. That same one that I was telling you about that was very nasty person, but she took a chance on this because we convinced her to have a pool of like personnel
Candidates.
numbers just to keep us filled or to keep us hired. So we had them ready to go when the ones that we just hired today quit.
Well,
Because
yeah,
that's what happens so often.
If you know that your attrition rate is like, just say for the sake of argument that it's
30%.
8%. I mean, it's like overbooking a flight. Yeah, it irritates people, but your airplane's full every time that you fly.
Yeah. So I mean, worst case scenario, the person you give them a conditional offer, and you tell them just wait for your phone to ring, and it might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 months, but it's going to ring. We know it's going to ring. People either get pregnant and quit. People leave for the military. People leave to go back home to be with their family, and most of it is just based on, I just got to get the fuck out of here, and they don't want to tell us. They want to be polite about it, because most of the time, John, also they want to keep the door open because they know it's a fail-safe. They know that they can come back if they ever needed to.
In Redondo Beach, which is in Los Angeles County, next door to Orange County, California, there's a whole article here that repeats a lot of this. They're trying to get better benefits and wages for their agency, but they're all going through the same thing. A 911 dispatcher got up in front of because there's a labor dispute or negotiation going on, and she said what's happening to the 911 dispatchers is dehumanizing. So I just thought that was an interesting word. Finally, because I prepared so much, so why not go all the way? Why not go big? I have a video that we could play from St. Louis about what's going on there. They just had a huge pay increase, but just west of there is St. Charles County, where they can't keep enough 911 dispatchers, and they're spending over $500,000 on temporary workers.
Can you guess why they can't keep enough people in that county?
Well, I mean, it's right there by.
It's right there by the one that's giving them a lot more money. So they're stealing all the good dispatchers.
That 45% raise just went into effect at St. Louis.
Okay.
But I thought it was interesting. They have a Colorado-based company called Motivations, and it's spelled MOE, which I just think is really terrible. But they're providing up to 8 certified 911 dispatchers to St. Charles County for $518,000. Those 8 dispatchers will be split into pairs and sit alongside county employees. So it's like they'll go in there and what are they? Scabs, designated hitters? I don't know what you want to call them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I have heard of travel dispatch, like there's in the nurse profession, in the medical profession, there's traveling nurses, and they do an 8-week stint here and an 8-week stint there, and they make a ton of dough because there's an agency, a centralized agency that hires them out, and they take their cut. They get their beak wet, and they pay them well, and pay them for housing and all that other stuff. And I think they're starting to do that with dispatchers, and I think that I think that's. Look, you got to do something. This is the same thing as our care conversation. You got to break eggs to make mayonnaise sometimes, and if you want to keep the crime rates high, then just maintain the status quo.
Are you a mayonnaise guy?
I'm a mayonnaise guy. It depends on what, but I'm also a big creamy horseradish guy.
On roast beef. Felony Melanie says Drew and or John. I guess. Okay. I mean,
one of us.
We're not equal. How many years does it take dispatchers to max out on pay from your respective departments? I think here is 8, and with the new contract at 6. I honestly don't know the answer to that with my own agency because inflation has run away, and the pay scale doesn't represent what it was when I was hired, so I don't know.
I'm going to go with 8 at my old agency. I don't remember, and I don't know for sure, because I know that they have changed the pay scales a little bit, but that is another very touchy subject.
I hope it's not 8. That's where I'm at, damn it.
when they would, because we're on a step scale, but the law and again, this was civilian pay versus law enforcement pay, or civilian pay versus sworn pay, because we have detention people, right? So the secretaries, again, the sheriff's secretary or the records lady, or they're on the same pay scale. There's no extra money. We were able to give them stipend for night shift, but there's no incentive to do this. There's no pay for, there's pay to be a communications training officer and all that. But yeah, I'm going to go with 6 years. And by the way, they weren't raising civilian pay rates. They were raising law enforcement or they were raising sworn pay scales, but they weren't raising civilian pay scales. And that's another reason for a pay study, John. They'll come in and they'll say, the compression here is what's going to end up happening is you're going to hire somebody. John's going to be training a guy that's making $15 more an hour than he is, and he's been here for 8 years. So you've got to give John the compression of, the years of quote back pay to make sure that is at least equal to the guy he's training. So pay scales are very difficult. They're very complicated. So I understand why people do pay studies, and I know that they're expensive. They're expensive by design, by the way. I mean, the consultant's not going to do it for free.
Well, they should, because that's what Josh does. But not being sworn, though. I mean, that's why I won't call the police when I see a crime out in my community. I think I took some heat over that recently. I was saying on True Crime that, like, if your gut tells you that that you see a crime, you keep that shit to yourself. Don't be a commie. Don't rat out your neighbor to Big Brother. And this is because I'm not sworn and because I'm not being paid as much as a cop. I know Eric had a very say something, do something. He's very proactive.
Yeah,
he's a hard charger police officer. I am not being paid that much, so I will not do my civic duty. And I will look at it. I couldn't find the helicopter thing, which sucks because I mentioned it, and then flapjacking my way here for half an hour. We're through the news.
I'm going dollars to donuts that was federal grant funded. Like no agency. I don't think there are many agencies that have the money to fully fund an aviation unit. So maybe the county funds part, the agency funds part, and then
I knew there would be like FEMA grants and things like that. I knew federal money's going to come into it, but I'm not tricked as a fool, Drew. But I mean, I did highlight it.
You're tricked as fool.
I will come up with it at midnight, and I will call you at home.
Right, because that is when our last caller will be calling. By the way,
none of the audience will get it. Yes, if you want to call the show, 848-COMM 911 is how you do that. That's 848-266-6911. It's 848-COMM 911. Call us. We're actually a live call-in show. We don't have to talk the whole time. You could do some of the work, and we could get paid for that.
Yeah, but, I would love to get into the Suitcase story, though, to be honest.
Yeah, the Suitcase thing is good. I had, so in St. Louis, I was going to play a video, but
I'm sorry.
They just increased the wages there by 45%, which is a huge raise. And Drew, let me ask you this too, as an administrator and someone who lives in a big city. So their starting pay there for City of St. Louis dispatch is $47K. Worth it? I say no. I don't think that's very good. I mean, I guess it's an opinion, right? I don't know.
I'll hold that. I'll hold that opinion. But you know what?
Is that because your fat pension is like 4 times that much, or?
Yeah. How else are they going to feed me? No, the entire profession is underpaid. The entire profession is underpaid. I don't care. I mean, I don't know what Chicago or and I don't know if they're represented by AFSCME or I don't. But you can rate. So just think about that. They got a 45% raise in that 47,000. I mean,
AFSCME.
I don't know, dude. I think the whole. I really think that the whole profession is underpaid, and they're not giving them their due, and it's gonna implode like at some point.
We're imploding now. I think it's already happening because across the nation, I've got examples here: California, New York, St. Louis. I mean, that's all across the country. I've got the paperwork right here in my hand saying that agencies are understaffed. You have the NINA report saying it's happening. Folks, we need the government to do so little. Okay. I'm a strict constitutionalist. I don't even believe in speed limits, but we do need public safety. We need 911 dispatchers. So we should be paying them. I realize that I have some skin in the game.
Tater's got a great question. It says, how has being a dispatcher changed in the last 5 years? Because his uncle's wife, which would make him his aunt, was a dispatcher, and said that it's changed drastically than in the past. And I'm going with it's a more violent society. You're getting more violent calls So that affects police officers. It affects 911. It trickles down. COVID did a lot of things to a lot of people too. So it just made people weird. One. Two, you've got to come up with innovations and new computer apps and programs to try to keep up with that or the latest trends or to stay ahead of the curve or whatever you want to call it. And the least, the hardest people to adapt to change are people in a communication center because it's very routine. So that puts an extraordinary amount of stress on a comm center when you have to change programs or, you just hear a lot of keyboard slamming and yelling and cursing and such. So I can see those being changes in the last 5 years. John, what do you think?
The only piece of technology that I use that hasn't changed is the CAD, our CAD interface. Everything else we use is different. Yeah, I mean, radio, whatever. I mean, it's a different program, so I'm still using like the same radio. So you can't really say that that's a huge difference. But I mean, the technology's changed, and it hasn't always advanced either. Sometimes you get these state government contracts who will withhold money from agencies if they don't conform to getting contracts with these certain third-party vendors for phones and things like this. So, like, the state will withhold tax money from the people it's being taxed from, and so you have to get these telephone companies or these other peripheral technologies, and sometimes they're not always advanced, but sometimes they're crappier, and sometimes it's like lowest bidding type situations where the state budget's trying to save some money, so they get you this. And I joke at my agency, but it's like the day I walked in the door, I had better technology to save lives than I do today. I think it's starting to finally reverse, but it's like I went through some years there, 2018, 2019, 2020, where it's just like everything was worse. Like there was a while where I could not talk to people on the phone without like a 5-second lag because we were interfacing digital and analog technology. So it's like just talking on the phone was a pain every single day. Now, like I said, now it's getting better, but you're always facing new technology changes. And like Drew says, society is getting worse. The attitude towards the police is worse. The expectations are higher. And it's just, it's the course that our culture is on. And it's hard to point to something so vague and say, well, it's harder now to be a dispatcher than it's ever been. I think so. But if you want to say what's the worst thing over 5 years ago, I'd say that you're doing more heavy lifting on your own because your agency doesn't have enough people there. So
good point.
You're there working more, doing more, staying late, picking up more of your own slack. One thing that's really hard about being a 911 dispatcher, I think, compared to being a cop, and Drew, I wasn't one, but it's just like, so you drive to a call, you have a certain amount of downtime while you're en route. You get there, you deal all the cop shit, okay, which is all really hard stuff I don't know about. Then when you're done, you sit there in your car and you do your report or whatever. And then you take 5 minutes or whatever, you go in the gas station and you do your business, and then you're 10-8 available for calls. I take a phone call, I'm dispatching it, the phone rings again. I don't get downtime between here and there. If I'm busy, I'm rocking and rolling the entire shift. I don't have downtime at all. Now, I do have times where I'm down, so I'm not trying to say that like, oh, woe is me. But I'm saying as a dispatcher, particularly if you were answering every call that comes in, or most of them, or a lot of them, because you don't have coworkers, I mean, that's one aspect of it that's just going to be harder. Your workload's higher.
Yep.
Enough said on that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I also, I mean, I would add, that's one of the major things that I've always said, from a traumatic experience standpoint, a cop or a firefighter has, maybe a 30% chance of dealing with trauma in their shift, but a dispatcher has a 100% chance every time they walk in the door. Every time. It's going to be something because you're answering all of the calls. You're answering all the stuff that's going out. So you're not going to find anybody in a major department, even at John's place, who, and he dispatches pizza drivers sometimes.
We do have county pizza where I live. To Abby in the chat, like, are we ever going to get around to it? Have you watched Failure to Stop? We have times where we do, like, if we don't go to the bologna right away, sometimes we do a mayonnaise part, okay? Like, there's some dressing in the sandwich. Not only that, but I want to let you know that this show, as it was conceived as of this time yesterday, was nothing but this. And I woke up at 4 and I happened upon this article, Man Dies in Suitcase, and I completely saved the show, Abby. So if you're not enjoying this, everything that follows is a treat. So you are welcome. Whatever you want, Drew, because I guess I'm failing to entertain Abby with talking about the plight of 911 dispatchers. We obviously should not be doing that on this show.
I will give you all the credit in the world for that. That
I
you
did a
came
lot
up
of
with this
work. I
concept.
haven't done a lot of work since April.
But
Have you guys noticed that? Like, I haven't done shit.
But then, yes, you have. But then, like, like the dog or the rabbit on the dog track, you throw the suitcase one out at me, and I went down the rabbit hole this morning, and I'm like, oh, this is a great case. You found a great case. This is
Damn
perfect.
good. It's weird.
But we haven't spoken about it yet.
No, we haven't talked together at all. So, folks, we're actually going to sign off, and Drew and I are going to have a private phone conversation
about the suitcase.
Discuss the
We're
show.
going to make jokes and everything. All right, so let's get into it, John. Unless you're going to play the St. Louis thing.
I don't want to do anything else. We're not doing any more news. We're already at a full hour, and we're at news.
I know.
Good for us. We didn't. We were on Tuesday. We're like, we're just going to play a repeat. And look at us.
And what did I tell you, John?
You said if I relax and I do some drugs, that I will be able to just come up with it.
If you that was not a man in distress that you dealt with at a gas station. I know this is very inside and people don't know what we're talking about. That is something we call a genie, and he has granted you 2 of your 3 wishes. So my 3rd wish is that we get into the suitcase story. But anyway.
Let's do it. Abby's a good egg. She was on the show last week. How can I really complain that much? Abby, we now do the show. Do you want me to play the 911 phone call?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I will. And I will. What I'm going to do, Abby, if you don't mind, I will interrupt it with my own takes. All right. Sorry, Abby. I'm coming off really.
I'm going to drop off for 1 second, but I'm still.
All right. You. Okay. Yes, you go. Okay. So this was in 2020. So we're flashing backwards in time, just metaphorically. We're not doing it for real. I don't want anyone to get hurt. And I'm going to go ahead and play a very strange 911 call that came into a Florida dispatch agency.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
4748 France Court, apartment 3.
4748, what's the street name?
France, FRANTZ.
And the apartment number?
3.
Is this a police or medical?
My boyfriend is dead.
Okay, send the line for the fire department. Do not hang up.
My boyfriend is dead means it's both police and medical. Now, what's happening here is we have a dispatcher who's answering the call. However, she doesn't dispatch for medical emergencies, which is fire, first response, and, of course, paramedics, too. So we're going to do that thing that we've talked about a bunch on this show, which is the awkward handoff to another 911 dispatcher. So she's going to hand it off. There's going to be a little duplication of efforts here. But one thing I want you to notice as the call goes over, because she said, my boyfriend is dead. We know this is a multi-discipline call. You're going to have everybody going to this. You're going to have police, fire, and ambulance going to this. So the first dispatcher is going to stay in the line, which is, chef's kiss. Really good job to her. And so they're going to transfer it over to the fire dispatcher. Here we go.
Fire rescue. What's the location, Mercy?
Desk 32.
No, please don't leave.
4748 France Lane, apartment 3.
France Court.
France Court.
Yes.
Okay, is this near Mackenzie Drive?
I don't know where that is.
Okay, fine, okay.
It's Hillwood Park Apartments.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, correct. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in his case and we were playing. And like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Okay, so sometimes we get calls this is actually more jarring than that I've just ejected from an F-35.
Yes.
Because we could take a call for someone who's unresponsive, not breathing, but I've said this so many times on the show. You should know this by now. This is episode 41, people. People call and they want to tell a story. She's got this whole story about how we were playing hide and seek as adults. These people were born in the 70s, folks, and this guy got into a suitcase and died. So he's just like, he kind of goes checklist too. He's like, we're gonna have everyone responding to this. This person is dead or maybe dead. But to avoid liability in my case, I'm just going to hope that maybe this person's not beyond CPR. I mean, how could they be? They were locked in a suitcase. It wasn't like for like 12 hours or anything, was it? Maybe it was.
Oh, what happened?
Right, okay, what's the apartment number?
3.
Apartment 3?
Yes, like he has like blood coming out of his mouth, and I don't know if like he had like an aneurysm or what happened.
Right, okay, all right, okay. Listen, we're getting help out there too. All right, okay.
Blood coming from the mouth, and that he's completely cyanotic and apneic, not breathing. These are the telltale death signs. He's fully dead. The dispatcher could probably tell this, but knowing that this is going to be a sticky, awful case, and just because it's the right thing to do, he's going to give CPR instructions. I want you to listen carefully to this.
Just in case she's exaggerating.
Well, there's that. Yeah, in case she's exaggerating, but also you have a duty to care, right? So you're going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I want you to listen to this because this is super frustrating. You're going to hear what it's like to give life-saving instructions to a person who's not willing to do it. Now, there's blood coming out of his mouth. You're not going to do mouth to mouth, and most CPR instructions don't include mouth to mouth anymore anyway. But you could tell she's not into it. You could tell that she's faking it. She's not really doing the compression. She's counting out loud. She's probably pacing about the apartment. We'll find out more about what's really going on later. But this is super frustrating when you're trying to give life-saving instructions to a person and you can tell when they're doing it versus not doing it. Why? Because CPR is hard. It's also really hard to explain. So you could tell that they're kind of going through the motions here.
Okay,
Now?
Okay, yeah, man, listen, we're on our way out there. You're at 407-716-8684. Okay, is he hanging from somewhere or what, ma'am?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase. I tried giving him CPR.
Okay, so he was in a suitcase?
Yes, and
In his defense, John, it could have been a garment bag.
I fell asleep.
Okay, how old is the boyfriend, ma'am?
42.
42-year-old male. All right. Okay, we're sending help out there. Sheriff's on the way out there?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry?
Yeah, okay. All right, listen to me. Okay, I just need to confirm this. All right, I understand. I just need to confirm this. Is he awake at all? Is he conscious at all?
No, he's purple.
Is he breathing?
No.
All right. I need you to get him on the floor, flat on his back for me, okay?
I did. I tried giving him CPR.
All right.
I tried giving him CPR.
Yeah, okay.
But nothing happened. He's purple.
Okay, listen to me. There's a defibrillator available. I need you to get it for me, okay?
What is it?
You have an AED available?
No.
All right. Are you right by him now?
I'm sorry?
Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay. Lay him flat on his. Okay, ma'am, listen. So listen, is he cold and stiff?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he's not necessarily cold, but he's stiff. And he's
purple.
Okay.
All right.
His room temperature.
Listen to me. I want you to lay him flat on his back for me on the floor.
I did.
Removing the pillows. Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right. Okay.
He's stiff and purple.
Right. Okay. Listen. Okay, man. That's fine. We're still going to do compressions on him. Okay. All right. Place the heel of your hand on his breastbone, right in the center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Yes.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Baby, I'm telling you. Just by looking at him, you can tell.
Okay.
Please. Okay, he just gurgled.
Okay.
Gross. Drew, what are some of the problems with him just taking her at her word that he's completely and totally dead? Like as an admin, would you, if you were doing a quality check on this, would you have said, "Good job, Steve, for continuing to go CPR on this," or would you have let him off the hook if he's just said like, "All right, lady, you Samsonited your boyfriend"? Like, I get it.
This is in the territory of yeah, I got to run through this checklist. I know you said that you just ejected from an F-35.
Yeah.
But how far was the fall? Like, I've got to know how far you fell. No, here's the problem, because if they get there and the ambulance crew, like I mentioned a minute ago, I mean, she could be exaggerating. She could be the murderer, as we, spoiler alert. And he could be gurgling because he's still alive. So, man, tough call.
He's cyanotic. He's got blood coming out of his head holes. He's dead.
I know that.
Have you ever seen a dead
what
person?
that means. But they can't see that. They've got to I think they have to do their due diligence. They've got to do what they got to do until
I agree with you,
somebody's there.
Drew.
And these are just pre-arrival instructions anyway. I mean, you can't really fail on them. But I don't know. It does seem like a complete waste of time. Speaking of waste of time, you know what I think I want to do, John? I want to finish out the call. I want to talk a little bit about the case, but then I want to do the full case next week.
Okay, no, that's good because it's 2 parts.
Right, and it gives
like
us
Law and Order.
week.
Plus, we're already over an hour. So, plus, if we do it next week, we don't have to think.
That's what I'm saying, buddy. I'm doing this for you.
And then something else that there's a reason, an excuse for us not thinking is we might be doing a game show again soon, folks. So cut this into a real future, John. We're doing a game show. More game shows. All right, back to the call.
Listen to me. All right, I want you to place the heel of your hand. Okay, right between his chest, right between his breastbones.
Yes.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Yes,
We want to pump his chest on me hard and fast, going to this twice per second.
I'm doing it again.
Okay, no, just keep on pumping. That's all you need to do for me. Keep on pumping his chest for me. I don't need you to stop and talk or anything. I just want you to count out loud for me, okay?
Don't talk. Pump.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Whether you're a
6,
mother or
7,
whether you're a
8,
brother, you're
9,
staying alive.
10, 11,
Faster.
12,
Harder.
13, 14, 15.
This should be harder for you.
This is mixing.
Okay, ma'am, just keep on pumping his chest. That's all you need to do for me, okay?
Yes. Come on, please. Hurry up.
Okay, ma'am, they're driving here as fast as they can. Okay, don't stop to say hurry up. Just keep on pumping and counting.
Don't stop to say hurry up.
Okay.
Well, don't stop to say. Don't stop to say.
All right,
Hurry up.
just continue pumping his chest. Count on us. I can count with you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27,
With lazy
28,
CPR.
29, 30, 31, 32.
Is
Please
there a-
hurry.
Okay, ma'am, they're getting here as fast as they can, okay?
He's stiff and he's purple.
Okay. Keep pumping his chest for me, ma'am.
I'm still doing it, okay?
Is there a
Still
skip
doing
ahead
it.
point
Don't make me count. Okay.
on the CPR,
Right, okay,
or
that's
is there
fine.
No.
gonna be?
You did a
I
good job.
played the
Just
whole
keep on doing it
call
for me.
because I didn't know that we would
All
have
right, they're
so
getting here as
much.
fast as they can, along with the sheriff's office also, okay?
Please.
We could just, I'll just truncate it because Drew wants to go to bed, which I understand. So at one point, just to end the call, somebody comes in the door. It's a firefighter. It's the first person on scene, and she goes, "Look at this dead guy in the suitcase," and you can hear the EMT firefighter saying, "Wow, he's been down way too long for us to do anything," which. I'm not saying anything about the dispatcher, but the dispatcher normally when the first responder gets there, the first thing we do is we hang up. But this dispatcher is he knows that something's wrong with this call of a guy dying inside a suitcase. He knows this is the one he's going to tell his grandchildren, the weird one. That both he and the sheriff's office dispatcher both stay on the line just to hear what the hell is going on there. So we'll skip past that. I just thought it was funny that the dispatchers clearly, don't hang up when they're supposed to because they want her to just be arrested by the firefighter immediately.
That's a great tease because I want to finish the 911 call next week. I want to go into the body cam so we can see what her reactions are. Right?
Oh, they're weird. Don't check on your own.
They're very weird.
Don't do your own case study.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't. We shouldn't have told you where it is.
No.
And we are going to we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the because what John did was he stirred the creative interview and interrogation juices. For those of you who don't know, I taught interviews and interrogations to a 40-hour course, a 1-week course for about 10 years to a group of, young detectives or various supervisors or deputies that have been on the road for a little bit or police officers, whatever. I'm a big fan of interviews and interrogations. So I went down the rabbit hole of watching this entire interrogation today. I've got a little bit that I'll show you as a teaser. But here, let me
Tease
just.
me, Drew.
This is going to tease you a little bit too, and I hate to, but this is where we're talking about here. And Deadleg was asking a bunch of questions about the Orlando area earlier. We got 4 points on a map here. This is near the Winter Park area of. It's just outside of Winter Park, outside of Orlando, just east of Orlando. And here's place number 1. This is where she's calling from. Okay. Now here's something
right there
weird
on the map. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, there she is. And here's something weird about this. Just about 2 miles down the road. This is why I called this the Suitcase case. Watch this. Just about 2 miles south of here down the road. Look what happens, John. This is a surprise to you. Maybe not. But as it zooms in here, you're going to see this is the Amscot where Casey Anthony's car was recovered.
Oh my gosh. They're linked.
They're
Casey Anthony put this guy in a suitcase.
Then if you go just a little bit, maybe 2 miles to the whatever that is west, you'll find Darcy Drive. That's where, not to bring up old wounds, but we're very close friends still. That's where my first wife grew up. That's where my wife, she grew up on Darcy Drive right there. And if you go a little bit north from there, like maybe a mile and a half, you'll see the last yellow pin, which is St. Richard's Episcopal Church. That's where I was married on December 1st of 1990. And that
wow, you got married when I was in kindergarten. That's neat.
Thank you. That marriage has since been terminated because I found the love of my life.
Well, that's good.
So there it is. That's the Drumuda Square, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Druda. Okay. So here's part of the interrogation, and I just want to point out a couple things. I'm just going to let it play. It's like 3 minutes maybe.
Really? No, that's when we were like painting. So then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to paint anymore. Let's just, come on. Okay, you want to play hide and seek? What he does is, okay, tag, you're it. So it's like, okay, we know. Okay, take off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did.
And then you went upstairs, and then he didn't come up, and you came down. And the suitcase was there originally because you guys were planning to do donations, so it was already there. Have you guys ever played you said you played hide and seek like probably 3 times in your relationship?
Mm-hmm.
When you have played, have you ever zipped him up in a suitcase prior?
No.
Okay. So it was just kind of like that prop was there, and it was there,
yes.
And it was in play because...
Why do you say it like that, though?
I would never do that.
You would never zip them up in a suitcase?
Well,
I mean, we were playing.
No, I know,
that
but
time,
I'm saying, I'm talking about hide and seek, which is a game, so...
The suitcase originally is in our closet, buried all the way to the back. If you, I know the CSI people saw our closet. Our closet needs to be cleaned out really bad.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mama. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to make you cry, but tonight we're cleaning out your closet. Look, this is something very classic with people who are trying to be deceptive. All she's trying to do is buy time. You ask her a direct question like, why did you say it like that? And she's telling you how messy her closet is.
She has so much predilection for anything that's totally irrelevant all the time.
Yeah, and yes, you're right. And she is so matter of fact about all of this. And she says some very telling things that I want to point out when we do the next breakdown next week.
Next week on the Comm Center with Drew
on the Comm
McCready.
Center. We're going to finish the 911 call. We're going to watch the body cam. We're going to break down a little bit of the interrogation, but there are some mistakes that the interrogators made, in my opinion. Hindsight's always 20/20. I'm not going to pick them apart,
50,
but there are a couple things that let me play the rest here.
Son's clothes need to be cleaned out really bad because they don't fit him anymore, and I'm tired of looking at them. So he took it.
This is one of them. If you'll notice, and if you're listening, you can't see it, but the detective that's just to her left is looking down at his cell phone. Now, things happen in an interrogation room. Like there are times when defense attorneys are talking to, homicide supervisors, and homicide supervisors really need to talk to the detective in there and tell them, hey, the attorney's here, stop talking to them, or, or hey, we just found another body, or, there are things that really happen. like that. But overall, if you're in a homicide interview, if you're in an interview where another person died, it is in your best interest to stay focused on what that person is saying, every word. And this is where technology gets in the way, because oftentimes we rely on what the camera recorded or what the recorder recorded. So
Devil's advocate, though, he knows he has. It's like taking a break, listening to her babble on about this shit. He knows he could check out for 30 seconds and he's not going to miss anything.
right, you know who else knows that though?
The lady.
She does, John.
Yeah.
She knows he's checked out. She knows all she has to do is talk forever and ever and distract him, and he's going to get bored and he's going to go to his phone. It's going to be a long interview if you're not staring a hole through her soul. That's what I'm saying. I think, like from it's 2020, like a lot of agencies have gone to just wearing a polo with the badge on it. And I was always a fan of the shirt and tie, because you're a homicide detective. This means something. And, a lot of guys, like I was never in homicide. And it's kind of tough to wear that kind of stuff at a scene. I get that. But when you're doing an interview like this, you're supposed to be imposing a little bit. You're supposed to be in their face. You're supposed to make them worry or confuse them with your good tailoring and your coiffedness. So hold on a second. Let's finish this up.
Upon herself, including that suitcase, to take it downstairs so we can get all of our clothes, our donations and everything, and just leave the whole thing by the clothing and shoe thing at my son's school.
No, I'm just asking, in the past, like, have you ever zipped him up in anything, jokingly or not? But obviously,
No.
I understand, you're claiming that Sunday it was a joking matter. You were laughing, he was laughing. But what I'm just asking is, in the past, like, is it something that you guys normally do?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Her lack of emotion is kind of, makes my skin crawl a little bit, but sometimes people are like this. But the absolutely nots, the over and over and over, I always used to teach, tell me your answer, don't sell me your answer.
I know. Anyone that starts with honestly,
yep,
that when it comes next is a
modifier.
lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Honestly, or I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Can I be completely honest with you? Well, what the fuck have you been up to this point?
Yeah, so
We
before
were
was
actually
lies.
this last game running out of places to hide because we have a townhome where it's upstairs or downstairs. So
It makes complete sense then.
Okay, so do you remember making any videos or maybe having any any photos, videos that you remember doing on your phone on Sunday?
She already got it, huh?
no.
No?
Yep.
I think I took a picture of a dog.
Okay.
Oh, come
But your
on.
phone is password protected, you have the password, he has the facial recognition, so it's not like someone else.
This is why your video is going to be so important next week, John.
Yes.
No, I have both.
Locking
But
her
you
into
have
that
the
story.
face and the password.
Yes.
Yeah, but he only has the face, correct?
No.
To be able to get onto your phone, you told me that he looks at the phone.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were asking if I did. Yes, it's me.
Okay. Does he have access to your phone? Because you said it's a shared phone. Okay, how does he have access?
Sarah, can I borrow your phone? Yeah, it's right there on the kitchen counter.
Okay, but how does he get into it? Because it's password protected.
He'll come and get it to me, and I'll just do the face thing. Where sometimes, too, like, he'll joke with me and say, okay, I need to borrow your phone. And he'll hold it while I'm cooking or doing something, do the facial recognition.
Okay, so he doesn't know the password, and he doesn't have the facial recognition.
No.
But he is the only other person that would use your phone, I'm assuming, other than...
Well, Lucas.
Right. But Lucas wasn't there Sunday. Right. So, to your recollection...
Oh, what happened?
I didn't touch it.
No, I'm sure you didn't.
In the past, like... So... okay, so do you remember making any videos or...
Of a dog.
Okay. But your phone is password protected, you have the password, he has the facial recognition, so it's not like someone else could be on your phone.
No, I
Whatever's
have
on there, you did it.
But you have the face and the password.
Yes.
Yeah, but he only has the face, correct?
No.
To be able to get onto your phone, you told me that he looks at the phone.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were asking if I did. Yes, it's me.
Okay. Does he have access to your phone? Because you said it's a shared phone. Okay, how does he have access?
Sarah, can I borrow your phone? Yeah, it's right there on the
If
kitchen
this
counter.
sounds familiar,
Okay,
it's
but how
because
do
I
you get
screwed it up.
Because it's password protected.
He'll,
That's okay.
He'll come and get it to me, and I'll just do the face thing. Where sometimes too, like look, he'll joke with me and say, okay, I need to borrow your phone, and he'll hold it while I'm cooking or doing something, do the facial recognition.
Okay, so he doesn't know the password and he doesn't have the facial recognition.
No,
But he is the only other person that would use your phone, I'm
Yes.
assuming, other than...
well, Lucas.
Right. But Lucas wasn't
Lucas
there
is her
Sunday,
9-year-old son.
Right. So, to your recollection...
Oh, don't tell me it cuts off there.
Damn it. Well,
Okay.
I mean, more for
Thank
next week.
StreamYard cuts it off.
Oh, does it?
Twice.
At 5
Sometimes
minutes?
with some of the videos, it just cuts off the last like 20 or 30 seconds of them
But Lucas
sometimes.
wasn't there
It's been a
Sunday,
problem
yeah.
that we've been running into.
Damn
Okay.
it, StreamYard.
That's fine because something dramatic happens, and that's a great tease for next week.
Something terrible is going to happen, or wonderful, but either way, it's very dramatic.
But either way, it's definitely one of the other.
Drew,
one-
did we? I hate to interrupt you because, like, holy moly, did we get any phone calls? Because I saw the Cupcakes and
Oh, I'm
Cameos,
sorry. Yes.
who's never called in. She said I called in, but because you guys wouldn't shut up about labor problems, that she had to hang up.
That's basically what happened. Hey,
Damn it.
Cakes.
Cupcakes, call back.
Hey,
Hey,
I'm on here.
can,
I
Hi.
was just going to see if every. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying hello. How are you? Thank you for calling.
Good. How are you all?
Great.
I was going to see if everybody could give my husband a big congratulations on getting a job with an agency that actually gives a shit about their employees, because that's hard
yeah,
to find these days.
good job.
I think that's
Yes,
amazing. And I let me tell you, and I'm going to be as earnest as I can be. I was on the Street Cop podcast. I don't know if you heard that. I'm not trying to brag to you. I'm telling the rest of I'm trying to brag to everybody else. And what it basically boiled down to is, Dennis Benino and I got into a discussion about having the stones to realize when it's time to cut bait and move on. And a lot of people say things like, oh my God, my pension, and oh my God, this, and but what is your happiness worth? And I'm telling you right now, that is exactly why I retired when I retired. I was luckily in a financial position to do so, and I had endured so much shit, one, and two, I was guilty. I was in that time warp of like, I just got to do my time. But I made it through. But you should never want to leave a career saying, yep, I did my time, I made it. I know that I made a difference in what I did, but take a page out of Cupcakes' husband, who says, you know what? If you're not going to treat me right here, I'm going to go find somebody that's going to treat me right. And I know my value, and I know my worth, and I know what my safety and my mental health is all about. And I'm just going to take my.
100%.
There's more than
that
one.
is 100% between, them just wanting to dump more and more and more and more on their employees. It was, all about what it shouldn't have been about. They clearly just, when you expect your officers to come off of a night shift and then be on call for 24 hours after a night shift,
right?
Like, it's unrealistic. It's dangerous. You can tell that they don't give a shit, and that's just that's just the tip of the iceberg. But you can really tell what agencies do and do not care about their officers.
Yep, we're gonna soon enough. Dennis Benino is gonna come on to the Friday show. Then soon after that, we're going to have a guy named Tom Rizzo, Captain Tom Rizzo, who's going to come on. He does this presentation called Ivory Tower. It's essentially about that. He is a command staff member who understands that we are dealing in human capital. We are dealing with people. And if you don't understand and treat people like human beings and adults, you are never, ever going to succeed in this profession. And
no,
again, like, this is not a therapy session for me, but let's rewind to the first 15 minutes of this show, where I talked about a command staff member who she was just a horrible she used to be a great person. I used to idolize this person, and she just turned into just a horrible human being. Just catty, just cafeteria type behavior, and running by ego. And it's a shame because these people are in charge of millions of people, of the safety of millions of people at a time, and they don't treat it with the reverence. They treat it with their ego, whatever serves their ego the best.
Yeah.
So
It's
hats
like
off to your husband.
they don't. Oh, thank you. It's like they don't know or they just don't care about the fact that not only are they putting their officers at risk, but they're also putting the public at risk. Because if you have somebody that is that dead ass tired, driving a car 80 miles an hour trying to get to a call, or possibly having to point a gun at somebody, it's not going to be good for anybody. So now he won't have to deal with that stuff.
Right. And I'd venture to say too, like if he came off of his shift and he's on call for 24 hours, stuff that he probably doesn't talk about, but he's thinking in the back of his mind, he's waiting for his cell phone to ring. You're not relaxed.
Yeah.
And you're not decompressing.
No.
And you're short with your family. This leads to arguments or isolation or alcohol use or adultery or gambling. And next thing you know, you're in the middle of a divorce, and you're on national TV because you pulled a train with half the department. And maybe I'm taking it a little too far, but
or you leave a car that gets hit by a train because you're not making good decisions.
Well, Cupcakes, thank you very much for supporting us. Thanks for calling, and congratulations to you and your husband. Sounds like you got your husband back because he'll probably be a lot happier. So thank you again for calling. John, do we have any voicemails by chance?
We have 2, and I'm totally prepared this week, unlike weeks previously.
So you have Liz's?
I do. Liz is up first because sorry I didn't get you last week, Liz. Here we go. Hopefully it works. Should be going. Oh, it's not going. Hold on one second. I'll fix it. Flapjack me, Drew.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
That's what you got?
Listen,
kind of concert only costs 45 cents.
What kind of concert only costs 45 cents? That's what Liz is saying. She got a dad joke for us. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi, Drew and John. This is Liz from Lexington, Kentucky. Pretty sure you both know who I am. Anyways, I have a dad joke for you. What kind of concert only costs 45 cents? A 50-cent concert featuring Nickelback. I hope you guys have a great night, and I enjoy listening. Take care. Bye.
Never made it as a blind man.
A Nickelback is an extra defensive back that you would have in an obvious passing situation.
Yep. Usually covered by the mic or the will.
Yes. Speaking of something else, here's our next voicemail. I believe it's probably Micah, knowing how we get voicemails around here.
Hopefully.
Hey, Wolfpack, it's Micah. Not doing a perimeter check tonight. Just finally headed home from a very, very long week. Not a ton of hours, but just stupid shit. I'm sure you've had that kind of week. So I did the math. I made it 7 years, 9 months, 7 days, 10 hours, and 48 minutes without getting battered at work. But tonight, it finally happened.
Oh, no.
So, like I said, I worked like 7,000 odd hours, almost 8 in the first 3 years, and just always been able to stay out of the way, and just got a little impatient, a little complacent, and I got a little knock on the chin from a foot today. But I'm okay. Everything's good. Nothing needed to be checked on or anything. Just got a little love tap. My beard cushioned my face wall as well. The inmate's foot was treated because it was sore. But don't worry. Got an ice pack, and sadly he'll survive to be a piece of shit another day. So looking forward to Comm Center. Guns up, giddy up. We'll see you then.
So he's going to have to change.
John, this is Liz from Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, you're going to play her twice because you missed it.
Got you last week, Liz.
So he's going to have to change the sign, batter free for 7 years, 7 days.
I have no doubt that he's told the truth about the inmate having to get their foot looked at. They probably had to take him to a fucking clinic. Oh, my foot hurts from kicking
Right.
SARS in the face.
But somebody may have also twisted him in the dog pile. Who knows? And, this job has a way of humbling you. And next thing you know, it's 7 years later and you're getting foot chinned. So there you go.
All right. Well, Drew, we had close to 3 shows worth of material, much to the chagrin of Abby Ellsworth, who's watching. She was texting me saying, "Are you going to do the show?" Damn it, Abby! I don't text you during your pre-recorded show. Listen to On Being a Police Officer, because over there she's pre-recorded, so she could just get around to the subject whenever she wants to. Comm Center, 100 episodes, 100 seasons. Comm Center, 848, Comm 911. Leave us a voicemail for next week. I'm almost out of energy. Thanks for watching the show. Drew, say some stuff before we go.
Just as a judge would do to a jury, I'm going to instruct you, do not look into this Suitcase case.
Don't look into it. Don't open the case.
And by the way, just for you, Micah, this is why I called it the Suitcasey case. All right, that's going to be it. John, stick around. Everybody loves everybody. And thank you, Deadleg, for being Deadleg.